Do you suffer from chronic illness and you go see your doctor, you do blood work, you try procedures, maybe take medication or supplements, even trying alternative methods of healing and nothing's working? What if I told you that by changing your thoughts, you could transform and heal your body? I know that sounds radical, but hear me out. If you don't know me, my name's Deborah. I'm a transformational healer and intuitive coach. And disclaimer, I am not a medical doctor, so if you need medical supervision, please do so. But if you are interested in finding out about this video, this may help you on your healing journey. So before I begin, I want to tell you my healing story. Back in my late 20s, I was given a book called Keep Your Rest by Susan Moss. And it was all about healing your body through your mind by visualizing and changing your diet. Also, by getting rid of anything and everything that's toxic products, people, situations, especially a relationship. In her case, that was what happened. So I was given this book by a friend who knew the woman. She lived in Los Angeles. And I was given this book, I read it, and I thought, this ever happens to me, this is what I'll do. Well, flash forward 30 years later, I got breast cancer. So I was given the challenge of doing what she did. It wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. But in her book, she talked about the typical type of woman that she came up with through research that would get breast cancer. And I checked up all those boxes. I had childhood trauma. I had a father who wasn't paying attention to me emotionally. I felt rejected by him. And I had a lot of abuse growing up. And so I had a lot of limiting beliefs about myself and a lot of emotional trauma that hadn't been healed. So I was on a spiritual journey. I began my spiritual journey in the middle of my 20s. I received that book, and then I started to grow spiritually on my path, but I also still had that emotional baggage that was really tough to try to heal. And I was healing over the years, but it comes in spurts, right? So then many years later, I discovered release work through my teacher. By the way, what I'm going to be speaking about is not something I pulled out of left field either. Lester Levinson is my teacher's teacher, and he talks all about releasing. And there's a book called Happiness is Free by Hale Dwoskin. I highly recommend that. And it talks a lot about what I'm going to be talking about in this video, where he let go of limiting beliefs, stories, and unhealed trauma as far as of past losses, everything. And in 3 months, he healed his body. So that's what happened to me. 30 years later, I got breast cancer. And I did do a Western procedure, but it is not a mainstream procedure. And it is going to be mainstream someday. But if you want to know more about it, you can always message me or a comment and I'll send you information. Because I don't want to focus too much on that in this video. But I also really had to start letting go of a toxic relationship that I was in, that I was holding on to way too long. And it literally was making me sick. But everything leading up to that was the trauma of my childhood. The icing on the cake, the straw that broke the camel's back was that last relationship. And that was what I've said in some of my other videos. It was a breakdown, breakthrough. So I had to really push forward and start to do the emotional healing on a much deeper level. It's not that I wasn't doing that, but I could only handle so much at one time. So really what pushed me forward and to truly heal from this breast cancer was doing the emotional healing, as well as the diet and going to the doctor and different procedures that I did and certain supplements and whatever I chose to do. But in all my years of working with energy healers that I have had work on me as well as mentored with that train me have said all the same things, that you can have the purest diet and you can do everything right, exercise, have the purest diet. But if you're holding on to negative thoughts and emotions about yourself, about others, resentment, anger, you're going to stay sick. So I really want to talk about what these limiting beliefs and these thoughts that we're holding on to that make us sick. Now, not everything that we think about is making us sick, because sometimes the environment itself is so toxic that it will start to affect our mitochondria, right? And that can also, let's say you've been exposed to a lot of radiation, that's going to make you sick. So there are other causes, and I'm not limiting it to just your thinking, but the body is run by the divine energy. And as an energy healer, when I'm working on someone, I'm not the healer. I'm not healing that person. I'm tuning into the divine energy to help them and help their consciousness of the divinity to come back to homeostasis, to heal what is in dis-ease. Okay. Also, one of the main components of healing in my process for myself and for my clients is to really turn to that divine energy. Because if we really have a relationship with that consciousness, beingness that we are, can change everything. I mean, it's so simple, but we ignore it so much because we get distracted by our thoughts and the world. And so the more we kind of bring that energy back in, our attention on the divine energy, that we can also heal our own self. Okay, by aligning with that. But in the process of what I do, I work with private clients and also in groups where I teach release, rewrite, receive. So, what is releasing? I help someone to identify what it is first. What do they want? Let's say they come to me and they're having issues in a relationship or a breakup, or they just want to call in a partner. Okay, what is it that you truly want? You want a partner. Okay, I have you set an intention. I allow myself to have the perfect partner. Then I say, okay, what's in the way for that? Or let's say are sick, or you've got chronic illness, or you have cancer, something serious. What is it that you want? Well, you want to be healthy and well. Okay, what's in the way? And when we start to investigate what is in the way, we go into the conscious and the subconscious mind. We start to see that there are limiting beliefs about ourself, about maybe they may be coming out of a toxic relationship, or maybe had trauma from childhood, whatever it is. But these are stories and these are traumas. And some traumas, by the way, are very intense. And so you may need to seek even more psychological help in whatever capacity you need to do that for. But I'm saying that I'm taking you to the root. I'm taking you to the thought itself and the identification with the thought that creates the emotion. So for me, I had a limiting belief that I must not be lovable from my experience with my childhood and also in that last relationship. Not all my relationships have been bad, but I'm just saying that that one was the one that reflected back to me all of my wounds that I needed to release and heal. The ones that I didn't want to totally look at, right? And so they were stuffed back in the subconscious mind, designing my experiencing in life. So when you start to look at those limiting beliefs, half the battle is just seeing them and becoming aware of them. And what's going on is you are starting to release the emotional charge. And when I do the energy work with you, I am helping you to release the energy, alchemize it, and put back the opposite. So then you start to think different thoughts. Instead of I'm not lovable, say I am so lovable, I am loving, I am love. Because really that's what you are. When you turn your attention to the divine energy within, you are the love that you're seeking. That love never left. It felt like it when you were going through that traumatic experience. But love never left you. You are love. So you're just tuning back into it. That's why I say I'm not really healing. I'm just tuning into that energy and helping you to heal. So we do the release work. We're looking into all of the limiting beliefs that are stories and turn into tendencies. So sometimes you can just release a tendency that comes with thousands of thoughts. And how do you know that you've released? You will feel different. You will feel more peace. You will feel happier. You'll feel lighter. You will know. You will feel sometimes the energy is in the heart, it's in the solar plexus, it's in chakras, different parts of the body. And so you start to really go back to the homeostasis, into back to harmony. So as you keep these limiting beliefs, you also start to write a new script. So that's the replacing the thoughts. You start thinking of what you want and get specific, because sometimes when we are so caught up in our thoughts and our limitations, we are really damming up the energy and we don't even know what we want anymore. Sometimes we get lost in that. So identifying what you want will really start to open the energy field for the abundance to flow back in, whether it's health, wealth, or love. And it never left. That's what I'm saying. As the divinity that we are love, we are health, we are wealth. So the more you can really experience that, not intellectually, but just experientially, you will say, wow, I can heal my own self. And I know that my teacher, Laura Lucille, told me that she had a friend years ago who was having this chronic illness that was bothering her, and she kept talking about it. And literally one day she just turned to her and said, I'm fine. I'm healthy and well. I'm totally fine. And she let go of the thought of illness and it never came back. That's radical, guys. I know that sounds radical, but if you notice, a lot of people, when they are sick, they will talk about it to everyone and keep it alive. And that's why I have to say, in my guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, in his ashrams, he encourages people not to talk about illness. And at first you think, well, that's not very supportive. But actually, the mind is so powerful that if you have masses of minds focusing on your illness, it's going to keep it in place. Our mind is so powerful. Whatever we think is what we experience. So why not think healthy and well? And it's really, in all the release work, I have to say that dealing with the body is the hardest part of all of it. You can release for wanting a new partner, you can release for more money, but when it comes to the body, I know when I would talk to my teacher when I had my cancer diagnosis, said the same principle applies. When you let go of the thought of illness, it cannot be in your body. And that sounds very radical, guys. But Lester Levinson's the one that said it, all of that. And he has a teaching called the Sedona Method. And Hale Dwoskin, who wrote the book, Happiness is Free, I highly recommend getting that book. He runs the Sedona Method. And so that's all about release work. And my teacher with Lester Levinson for years, and he said, if you don't have the thought of illness, it cannot be in the body. When I first heard that, I was really in disbelief. So if this is the first time you're hearing it and you don't believe it, that's okay. But just try it on, marinate on it, see. Someday you might experience that. So I've had experiences like that. Now, when I had the cancer diagnosis, it was hard for me to believe that, because she had said it to me right then and there. And I was like, well, I'm still going to the doctor and I'm still going to do all these different things. But now, fast forward from the cancer, I really know that I can turn on or turn off health. And what I also want to say, a limitation that I've struggled with is, well, the body has a mind of its own. No, it doesn't. The body is being controlled by the universe, okay? We don't have to consciously breathe or digest or make our organs work. So that may feel like we're not in control, and that makes sense. But we realize that our mind plays a huge role in our health and wealth and love, then we can say, enough of this. I don't want to hold on to this anymore. Even if you still have to go to the doctor, and it's totally fine. You can be fully released and still go to the doctor. And that's maybe for another video, but I'm introducing this to you. And it's something that worth investigating and experimenting with. Because every time I work with my clients and groups, I always say, if this is new, just experiment with it. Stay light about it, see what happens. And when I'm helping my clients release through energy work, and I also have them write things down on their own to keep the releasing going, because it's a new habit that you're forming. It's not a one and done, it's a new habit. And if you feel drawn to doing it, it's going to change your life drastically, because you start to become aware that the mind has been holding on to limitations since we were born. We hold on to concepts, and basically we're undoing those, and we're now with thoughts of what we want, not what we don't want. So in conclusion, I do the release, rewrite, receive. And the third one is receiving a new timeline, a new version of you. So you can literally change your chemistry from your own thoughts. But if you are still needing to go to the doctor, absolutely go to the doctor. Really try this on and see how it works for you. If you'd like to join my community or book a session, everything is in the description. I have a private Facebook group, and I have a membership, and I have lots of resources. And I really am here to help all of you with whatever limitations you are dealing with in your health and with your wealth and in the love department. I've been down the road on all three, and I'm still a work in progress. But the health is very important, and I have even more stories to share, but this is enough for today. So thank you. I hope you like and subscribe to this video, and I look forward to working with you.